What happened?
What's up? What's
Hey.
up? What's going on? We back from spring break. Unfortunately, how was your spring break?
Wonderful. I slept so much.
Mine was terrible. I didn't sleep at all. Nah, I was just working because I gotta catch that check, catch that bag, la bolsa. Okay. Today we're gonna talk about humanity and like
Humanity.
a lot of different senses of humanity because there's so many. Like when you think of humanity, I think everybody thinks of a different thing.
Yeah.
What's your definition of humanity?
Humanity is a person's morals, I guess. I think like humanity, how you treat other people, and like your morals with other people. So like, let's say if you see somebody homeless, you just walk by them, or do you like give them some cash,
Mm-hmm.
or like humanity? Let's see. If you're nice to people because you actually genuinely care, or if you're nice to people because you want to use them for their assets.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity, like things like that.
Okay. I think humanity for me is like such a expansive term because you could think of like religion versus the Big Bang Theory. You could think of humanity as in kind of like you said, like your personality, your morals, or your goals,
Yeah.
how we treat others. And I feel like it could even go like well the universe is obviously large, but it could even go to like the world, like how we perceive other cultures and countries.
In a broad sense, humanity is humans, human culture.
Everything that has to do with humans being and not being, and I guess how we've created humanity and how we continue to shape ourselves and shape others.
I was personally thinking of it like how when people like on Twitter, when you think like, oh, my belief in humanity has been restored because you see like people cleaning the beaches, or you see like people giving back to the community, like because I feel like our like view of humanity has been very dark as of recent because there's a lot of like not good stuff going on.
There's like wars and poverty and
and there's like inequalities being brought up, and poverty, and the like with like the horrible winter we had with like the coldest day in Chicago, and like Chicago has like the most population of homeless people, and they were like, please do something for the homeless people, like open shelters or let them come into your homes because like that was a dangerous day for them.
Mm-hmm.
It was colder than like I think it said Alaska and Chicago that day or something like that. It was really cold. And for all those homeless people, like, what was humanity supposed to do? Your morals as a human. You're just going to let somebody sit outside and freeze to death? You know, like, you're supposed to help.
It's interesting,
my
like,
opinion.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that whole, like, involvement versus, like, not being involved. Like, some people are like, oh, I'm far away, or, like, if you don't see it or you don't feel it or you haven't experienced it, you won't feel like you need to be involved, or like it's very easy to like scroll through and like pretend like it didn't exist or whatever. So I feel like we have a huge culture of like ignoring like human responsibility, or like picking and choosing what is our human responsibility or what aspects of humanity that we want to address. And it's funny because I think of situations like that, like, oh, it's the coldest day, but then I also want to be like, okay, so what's the difference between any other day? What's the difference between previous winters? What's the difference between the coldest day that was a degree lower? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, why do we pick and choose events to be involved in or pay attention to just because they're media headlines, or just because everybody's talking about it? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like those community dinners that they do for holidays for the homeless people, that they like, oh, because they have no family, so we're going to throw this community dinner, and it's like a free dinner for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Where do they do that?
In a lot of communities, and like the shelters and stuff, people volunteer and bring food and stuff. And they only do that for the holidays, but like for every other day, like there's like no food. And
it's funny because this is like a philosophical like process of thought. Like there's a lot of theories on like what we should do. Like there's theorists that would say, oh, like say if you make $100,000 and that's your like income, whatever, say for the year. I forgot who it was, but he was like, oh, you should give 70% of your assets and then keep 30%. So it's kind of like, damn, like to work so hard to get a degree and let's say make $100,000. Say that was like your all-time dream, like to make that amount of money, whether it was 100,000, 200, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So to give more than half of your assets to like poverty or charity or people in need, like, are we capable of doing that? And like, to what degree should we be responsible for humanity or others or people that are in need? You know what I'm saying? Because what's interesting is that, like, yes, we should help other people in different countries and people in need, but what about where they're located? Like, what is New York doing about New York homelessness? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and true. I feel like there's a lot of issues about that. Like
a lot of people look towards the wealthier or higher class, saying that, well, you guys are holding all this money for yourselves and you're not like helping us. But like, what are, like, a lot of people would argue, like, what are they doing to try to make that money? And in my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of closed doors that's not letting the middle class or the lower class just get up to where they need to be to make that money to be okay. So they're not begging, quote unquote, begging for favors from the higher class. Like, but that's like a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, but that still comes into play because it's like, it's interesting because if you have somebody that started from the bottom, was homeless, like say they came from a different country and then came to this country and they had an idea and they made it big and now they have millions, if not billions of dollars. Should we condemn them for like holding or trying to keep on to all that money that they never had or that they worked so hard to build? Or like versus somebody that grew up in a position of power and privilege and just continues on the train and continues with children, keeping stuff in family. I would feel like I would rather condemn them and see what they're doing versus somebody that started up from the bottom. Because if I'm poor and homeless,
starting up from the bottom is something different because those people who started up from the bottom are usually the ones to give back because they understand where it's where it comes from to be.
Versus like, the people that will cling to their money.
Born in privilege, and they're like, well, my parents did it like generations ago, so you guys should be able to do the same. So that's very selfish of you to think that like everybody has the resources that you do.
So why do you think people lose that sense of humanity, lose that sense of I should help others, or like it like completely baffles me how people just don't see like what goes on or like the reality of situations, whether it's like
perspective,
brutality
if you live in a box, let's say you live in this box of privilege, right? You only see what you have. You have money. Right? You have money, you get everything that you want, basically, and you just know that when you have money, everything's going well. If this person doesn't like you, you could be like, oh, well, I'll buy you something, you know, and everything will be okay. Or, like, you can, because people come to you because you have money and everything seems like, oh, everything's all jolly and happy. They only see one perspective of life. Yes, on social media, they can see, like, other perspectives of life. But in their head, they're like, well, why don't they just work? Not understanding, like, that it's
social
hard
structures
to work.
And position and power.
It's just like that comment that Khloe Kardashian made recently on a woman who wanted to buy her brand of jeans and said, I'm working... This woman made a comment on her post saying, I'm working an extra 20 hours a week just to buy your jeans because I find them so cute. And Khloe commented underneath it like, oh my God, that's so cute. I love that you love my product so much. You see, like, that is so...
I mean, like, that's another issue. That's like capitalism. Like,
whoa.
But that's like, interesting that feeling of desensitization towards people that are lesser than us.
She lost some of her humanity due to the fact that she doesn't realize this woman is working to the bone to buy her jeans.
But at what point, that's what makes me curious, do we lose that sense of humanity? Like, if I have $1 billion house, if I have $1 million house, if I make an extra 100K.
It's when you start letting it get to you.
But how can you not let it get to you, though? If you live a lavish life but I mean, like, I try to see it from both ways, to be honest, because, like, first of all, if you grew up from money, there's nothing that you will understand
Oh no.
On the other side. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't believe that. Like you may be able to grasp it, but you won't be able to understand, as in feel it, or like sympathize with the person who is like disenfranchised or not as privileged as you,
unless you were thrown in it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who go on vacation to DR, but they only go to Punta Cana.
Oh, yeah.
and they only see the vacation side of the island.
Yeah.
And they never go to the city, Santo Domingo,
mm-hmm.
where there's poverty, where it's obvious that it's a third world country,
mm-hmm.
you know? And they never see that side, and they never experience what it's like to live like that, or like see it for themselves,
mm-hmm.
not just through pictures or through these commercials with sad music behind it, but to actually walk through those streets and see the poverty for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to understand that level.
Yeah.
And even the people who do walk through it, they just do it to take pictures and be like, I help these children.
Yeah.
Like, that's a loss. You've lost something
mm-hmm.
valuable in yourself if you're only doing it for a charity case to look good for the media.
So good. And I feel like that's what a lot of it is. Like, I feel like unless you out there getting petitions signed or like really like pouring that food or being in communities or getting involved, I don't really believe in the intentions of what you're doing, because I think is it true? Like I think like rich people, they don't get taxed on like the charity money that they put out or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's like some weird stuff that be going on with that.
There's a lot of loopholes that people that are wealthy get by with taxes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why like a lot of middle class is like, well, they should raise their taxes because I'm
drowning.
We're drowning in taxes as middle class citizens, mm-hmm. right? On cars, like my family lives in Connecticut. We get taxed on cars. They're about to start. My mom told me that they're putting tolls every mile on the highways. Every mile you will get charged a 33-cent toll.
Nah, that's crazy.
So like people driving to their job will be like taxed around like $6, not tax, well, toll.
And that's like
toll
going back and forth. So that's crazy.
Exactly. So that's like $12 a day.
But like
in tolls.
Where is the money going, first of all? But anyways, that's like a whole other conversation. But actually,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I seen this picture. There was this woman, I think she was visiting like Africa or something like that. And she took pictures and like she looked nice, and the pictures were very clear, nice imagery. But then you look closely and there's like children there, and they're like wearing like ripped clothing, or like they don't have shoes on, or they look kind of like poor and decrepit or whatever. And she's just like showing through the village, and she's like, posing and like kind of like posing in front of them, and they're like, it looks like they're kind of grilling her, but they also look kind of like confused. Yeah. And there's like this whole outrage because it's like, yo, like, first of all, you're a person of color. Second of all, you're kind of like parading yourself in front of like villagers and people who are poor and obviously don't have as much as you, and it just seems like very like intentional and kind of like rude and kind of like a display of like power and like privilege in a sense.
People nowadays are very entitled to whatever they're doing, and I feel like that was a show of entitlement. Oh, I have a phone, I have money to buy these clothes, so I'm able to take this picture. Like, you guys can't tell me that this is wrong. Like, it was good lighting. Obviously, the picture's freaking beautiful, right? But, like, what she doesn't realize is that it's like you're looking down upon everybody around you.
And even if it's not intentional, it still looks that way regardless, because you compared to the scene of like there's literally like shacks and like tents and you look like you're an arrogant like person, like instead of you look actually very selfish and incredibly like dumb in my opinion, because there's people around you that obviously could use the clothes that you're wearing, or could use like some of the money that you have that you can take this picture. And you're kind of like throwing it in their face. And especially countries like that, like they're very prideful. So looking at that, they'd be like, damn, well, like I thought I was poor. I look mega poor now,
Yeah. And then like you as a person who's going to these countries, you might not have it like the wealthy people in your country, but you have it better than those people.
Yeah.
So give, like, a lot of people say like, oh, I don't have it to give. But like, you have it better than them.
I think at the end of the day, like, we should just have that respect for anyone, like, above all, but we should have that respect for people who don't have it like us, or people who aren't privileged. Like, what always makes me think of this is, like, when, like, I try to, like, throw out food and my mom's like, what are you doing? We'll eat that later. And sometimes they don't even end up eating it later, but, like, we'll save, like, bags of cereal, even if there's, like, crumbs or, like, crushed cereal, because they're just like, yo, like, we grew up from literally nothing. Like, we've seen the worst of the worst, so...
You never know. You never know what's going to happen the next day. You never know when you're not going to have food.
Your house could catch fire.
Exactly. Don't take any day for granted. Like, it's so hard to say that, like, money is literally only paper, and yet it runs our life. To the fact that, like, you can't even buy food without money, or you can't live a normal life if you're making less than what is needed.
With everything being inflated, and you can't even buy healthy food. Healthy food is, like, obviously the biggest thing.
And that's what's the craziest
organic
thing.
This, like, organic that.
Yes. They'll be like, these are the beauty standards. You need to be slim, skinny, no tummy, no nothing. We want slim, thick. You gotta have that nice snatched waist, nice big hips, you know, and all this voluptuousness, right? But we're gonna make everything that you need to get this kind of body. Yeah, you're gonna need to pay like tens of thousands of dollars on this.
To be honest, and it's crazy
how surgery or to get that gym partnership or trainer or anything like that. That's mad bread.
But we all, like, influence and, like, feed into these companies and these products which don't really serve us. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're the ones who are sitting here, like, watching these influencers, or giving them the follow, or giving them the like, or, you know, like, feeding into, like, that narcissism and trying to implement the lives into ourselves, like, trying to work towards these standards that don't really...
Yeah, but what about the people who aren't doing
necessary?
That? What about the people that aren't doing that and they're just like, well...
I mean, there is, like, a naturalism movement where it's, like, natural hair, natural skin, like, no makeup, like, natural body, like, you know, more...
But they still get a lot of hate. Like, oh, well...
But if you're being yourself, you don't really have to care.
And, like, stuff like that. Well...
It's two, like, conflicting sides, and that's, like... I feel like that's, like, another, like, humanity conversation where it's, like... We've been shifting in so many directions when it comes to, like, having consideration for other people, having consideration for rights, like, how we're moving through our lives and how we're feeding into or trying to fight against these companies or these media platforms, or, you know, these organizations that sometimes, you know, don't serve us or just want to profit off of us at like our expense, you know, like, they don't care if we're injecting ourselves in our lives or our butts or whatever the case is. Like,
it's just like people who, like, companies that don't care, like you said, about our well-being. There's this girl that a lot of people, they're saying that she's done blackface. But if you watch the interview that she was interviewed, because this is such like there was such a big contrast between her actual skin color and how she tans herself, quote unquote. And there's such a big difference. But she's taking these melanin injections. Literally.
You can inject melanin into you? That's so
melanin
crazy.
Injections that it physically changes your skin color for the period, I think she said, of 2 weeks to a month, where she's physically darker than what she actually is. And then on top of that, she gets a tan. She goes about twice a week on top of the melanin injections.
That's, like, even more sad than it is, like, disgusting.
And, like, everybody's like, no, she's blackfacing. But during the interview, she was like, I don't think I'm that dark. She's not doing that because she hates black people or anything. She has an actual psychological problem. There's something, she's addicted to that melanin injection, you know, she's addicted to tanning and stuff.
But what's interesting is how, like, different groups of people can benefit off darkening their skin or modifying their features versus the actual people who have those features,
because
which is a
that's
problem.
culture vulture. That's a culture vulture. You know, you have your white privilege, and then once you use that to get to this place of power, you want the look of a minority. You want to look like a mixed person. You want to look like you have color to you. You want to put braids in your hair, or you want to be dark, or get surgery of like a bigger butt, so you look ethnic. You know, you were skinny before, too skinny. You know, like that's all culture vulture stuff. Like, or you see other women, actual black women or minority women, starting a trend and call it ghetto or nasty. But then you
changing
see
the name of actual like cultural features, like from cornrows to boxer braids or whatever the case is.
Yeah, like
so you're telling me that you can't acknowledge a disenfranchised group, but you could absorb their culture and their features, assume it as your own
benefit.
Use it as your benefit.
The ones who started it. There's some things that I'd be looking at like, that's my culture. Like the whole with like a lot of music that's coming out that has like Hispanic beats to it, and it's like a white singer.
Do you have any examples?
Let's see. Oh, one that got me tight was Despacito. Now,
Justin Bieber, you know, he said he didn't even know one word in that song. Exactly. Oh my God.
The actual song Despacito was not popular until Justin Bieber hopped on it. And then all of a sudden, it was so popular. Oh, Justin Bieber, Despacito. I hated that song. But like, why? Like, that got me tight. Like, no. I can't think of but there's like a lot of culture vultures. Like, I'm gonna trigger some people. Ariana Grande.
Oh my gosh, she posted a picture the other day, and I think she was like showing like her true skin because she looked more paler than usual. But she's like a big example. And then that whole video, the 7 rings, and talking about hair, and then there was all that controversy.
I bought it. All right. Sis.
I want it. I got it. Yeah, you could want it and get it because you have systems and money in your favor.
And this whole thing, like,
don't get me wrong, I like her and I like some of her music, but it is what it is when it comes to terms of like what you're benefiting off of and what you're portraying by giving those messages. Like, oh, it's okay to, you know, buy like wigs and weaves and tan my skin or wear 2-3 shades darker makeup because that's a trend and that's cute. And I feel like it's been out for a while, but kind of started with like Kylie Jenner, like with her tan. Like people were literally like, you were this. And now you're this, and this is a problem, you know?
Yeah, but Kylie Jenner, because her before and after pictures are quite scary. Like she was so pale before. She had no top lip, and like
no other
lip. She had like a legit line for lips, and she get all the surgeries to make herself the perfect like teenage young adult. And that has become the beauty standard.
And that message is really like...
It messes with you because if you go back like a decade to like what teenagers used to look like versus what they look like now.
Everybody was okay. You know, you had your little itty bitty, you had, you know, your little body, like you knew that you was going to grow into yourself. Like you might have been a little insecure because of like what Teen Magazine or like Vogue or Cosmopolitan or whatever the case is. But it was easier for people to grow into themselves and find their own beauty or I feel like appreciate their worth and how they look. But now it's like I have a friend, she is absolutely gorgeous. She is tall, she has long hair, like she has really clear skin, like she's great. She looks gorgeous, nice body, summer body, flat stomach, everything. I'm talking to her and she's like, oh, like I was thinking about doing like a temporary like butt lift or something like that. Oh, I was thinking about doing like lip injections. And I tell her, I'm like, you are literally like men drool over you. Like you can have anybody you want. Like, and I know it's more personal. It's not about like other people and your attraction, but I'm saying like people admire you, men, females, anybody, everybody admires you because you are literally so naturally gorgeous and you want to modify yourself. I'm like, why do you want to change anything? I'm like, yo, like people will die to look like you know, like, and
but that's
you want to change yourself.
That's social media though.
That it is that, but it's a whole bunch of things. But it's like this is what we've become. Like, this is what humanness has become. Like,
That's
always reaching towards a goal
Yeah.
that is unachievable. We're trying to get money. We're trying to, buy this nice car. We're trying to buy this big house, have like 8 bedrooms and like, the perfect pure breed dog or whatever the case
Yeah.
is. Like, white
Everybody
picket
has
fence, gated
Yeah.
community. Like, we're all reaching towards these goals.
humanity has this ideal in their mind that now has actually become unachievable for a lot of people. The only people that can actually achieve it is the people on top,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the
People
ones
that-
setting the examples for everybody else.
I've been learning about this in my race and gender and mass media, and how like big like TV companies and those like corporations influenced audiences by making them like believe that they could achieve all these like huge goals of like getting a car or even 2 cars, getting a house, by putting everything on like lease payments and like slowly feeding your money, and then they raise the interest, so you may pay 10-20 years to get that house or to get that car, but you have it now, like, or you may have that nice like stainless steel refrigerator, and everything in society became focused on like achieving and like slowly paying for things and getting yourself into debt just for the simple fact of having that luxury or making it look like you live a higher lifestyle than you actually do, simply for appearances. And that's how it is now. Like, we all got AirPods, we got iPads, we got True Religion jeans, we got Balenciagas, we got Louis Vuitton bags, like everything. We're all working for stuff that was really like a non-factor. Like, okay, luxury is luxury. Like, you may want to buy yourself something nice here and there, but why are we so obsessed with consuming, or so obsessed with, achieving or acquiring all these unnecessary feats and pleasures and luxuries and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we be happy with what we have, who we are? I'm not saying don't work for it. I'm not saying that you can't spend your money on whatever you please, but the influence that these big companies have and how we're all feeding our money into them, and we're all paying such close attention to these celebrities and what they're doing and their posts and how they're living their life and how they're eating and their little books and self-help stuff. Like, we're all feeding into a culture that's literally destroying us, because we're fighting against our natural bodies, our natural looks, our beliefs, our cultures.
It's all an unhealthy practice. That's why like a lot of people go on a social media cleanse and like stuff like that.
Oh my god, I was about to delete it yesterday. Oh my god.
It really destroys like
it really makes you insecure. It really insecure. Kills you. Like, it's and so crazy.
Also, like, when you like just post just because like, oh man, I haven't been feeling good lately. About
let me get that attention. Let me
post something.
Put that post up.
Let me post from that like summer.
If I post this like that, then I'll get more attention to the dollar. Like, if I show a little of this
and stuff like that, like that is all very damaging. Like, if you think about like, where has humanity gone?
The only thing that really bothers me is clear skin. I'm like, I want clear skin so badly, and I look at these people and they literally look like they have freaking glass on their face. Like it's crazy.
A lot of people on Instagram, if you look at Instagram and stuff, but even on like other social media platforms, they Facetune. Facetune, you have no pores.
Oh my god.
No nothing. Just, you're absolutely just beautiful.
It's crazy. I was on a date with somebody, and we were talking, and I was like taking pictures of them off guards, and they came out mad clear, mad nice. Got the excess, got the excess. Nah, feeding into capitalism, whatever. So I took pictures of him, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna like edit it a little bit." I was like, "What are you editing it for?" And I've been big on like not having any filters. Like, even if I feel like, oh, I have like a little acne mark, or like I don't look as good, or like I don't like my face a little bit right there, like I'm gonna still post it, because like that's me naturally, and you're gonna take me as natural as I come, and that like boosts my confidence and makes me feel more safe and secure in myself. And I've been doing that for years, like almost since Instagram started, because I'm like, these filters are corny and you're changing yourself for nothing. Even Snapchat be like changing your face shape and making you look like a completely different person.
Snapchat filters that they just physically make your face totally smaller.
And you be like, oh yeah, my jawline, like it looks mad cute with that little flower filter. Let me use that more. And then your whole Instagram is filled with all pictures with that filter. The doggy filter, that one makes your face look nice. I'm not gonna lie. No, but even then, it like makes you like be like, damn, my face is kind of fat. Oh, I need to go to the gym. We need to get the summer body. Oh, we need to eat this, and then you're like spending all your money on BS.
Yeah. It's very like shocking to see like when you like have the filter on and you're like taking a video or whatever, and let's say you like move or whatever and the filter like,
and you be like, oh damn, like, come back please.
Now I gotta delete the whole video because, well,
me too. Like, but so this guy, he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna change the I forgot what it was called. Oh, the grain or something like that. And like, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see much of a difference when he changed it because he did it in like subtle ways. But I'm like, yo, like you are mad handsome. Like you look so good. Like why do you feel you need to change yourself? And he's like, I don't think it's like changing myself, but it's just like making the picture look better because like the quality changes when you post it on Instagram. So I want to bring back that quality and enhance it a little bit, you know?
There's
like,
things like that, like
you know, we enhance ourselves a little
bit. That like people do, like whatever. Like for the background, like, oh, I want the background more saturated. I want the water to look more blue, so I'm gonna put this filter on it.
But still, like, I just find that it's like so relevant. And it's like, what have we become? Like, I remember, like, okay, like you would look at a celebrity, like, oh my god, Mariah Carey, like I want to be her. Like she looks so good, da da da. She's so skinny. But it didn't really go farther than that unless you kind of let it, or unless you had all those medias like at your access. But now we have everything. We can look at so many people. We're always following the best looking people. We're following people that thrift and do this and do that. And
I'm not gonna fault people for editing some of their pictures because of like aesthetic or for artistic use.
Those, that's different.
I love those.
Like when they have the little like animated characters on their like shoulder, like when they have like the little fire, like they change their eye color a little bit because like it looks like mystical or whatever. Like that's cool. That's artistic.
But like when you change something physically on you, let's say you Facetune and you like ascension your waist in that bodysuit, so it looks like you have a really tiny waist versus like big hips or whatever,
or fix the lines on your face, or remove like bags under your eyes. Like I'm such a big person on natural beauty, and like if I like you and I think that you're cool, there is nothing that you can do to really change yourself that I'll be like, okay, like she's like you can look like anything, to be honest, and I will still like find you beautiful, and you could find a lot of beauty in people for different reasons in different ways, whether it's physically or, you know, emotionally, mentally, whatever the case is inside. But it just makes me so sad that people really want to change themselves so much.
Like I've gotten like people that have seen like pictures of me like with like I'm wearing makeup, like I have a full face on, like I was just playing around with makeup, whatever, and I decided to take some selfies and my hair was straight.
Look good.
And like I've had people like look at those pictures and be like, that don't really look like you. Like, what filter did you use? Meanwhile, that picture doesn't even have a filter on it. Like, that's just me.
The haters, they're gonna hate.
And I'm like, wait a minute, why do they think it's a filter or something like that? Like, do they just assume everything's like fake?
Like, no, you may put a filter. This is me.
Yeah,
this
like,
is my face.
Why are you projecting what you do onto me? Because I don't use filters most of the time. The only time I use filters is on Snapchat. But Snapchat is gonna be gone in 24 hours. I don't really post
even
that
then, it's like
else.
Sometimes it is like comical and like funny. Like you got the little big mouth thing. That's
I love
cute.
that filter. I love that
the voice changers, the little cat stuff or whatever. But when you're doing that because you're insecure or because you feel you need to look a certain way, that's the problem. And that's when I'm like
I use those filters like when I am being like lazy a day and like I don't know, like put on makeup and I look extra dead. People come up to me all the time and like when I'm like extra tired or whatever, and they're like, Raven, you look like you're about to pass out. And I'm like, I know. So when I get on Snapchat, I'm like, let me put a filter over this so people don't think like I'm on the verge of just like
dying, falling on the floor as we speak.
So like I use it for that because I know that I look like terrible when I'm like tired.
I think you're gorgeous all the time, no matter what you look like.
You. I'm just, I be looking rough. You can't even lie. I be looking real rough.
I think you just look tired, but I'm like, that's like me all of high school. Like I was like so dead inside and I looked dead outside too. So I was like, It's whatever. It's a look.
But like,
we sleepy, we tired.
Like I be wearing it like it's a look. That's my mood.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least you know from afar, I'm not ready for whatever you're coming at me with.
I'm not here right now, but this is okay.
No, mentally my mind is sleeping. But yeah.
Go back to humanity.
Humanity can make people do. Well, no. Let's say loss of humanity.
Lack of humanity. Yeah.
Lack of humanity.
You know what scares me too? Like doctors killing patients because they feel that they're gonna like die anyway. So like, just kill them anyway.
Mercy killing or just
it's like euthanasia, I guess, or like mercy killing. Yeah. Like,
well, it depends.
Taking that right to kill somebody.
It's not really. I wouldn't say. My mom works at a hospital. It really depends on the protocol.
I mean, personally, I would rather somebody kill me if I'm going to be tortured anyway, because I don't want to be in pain.
That's
sitting
what
there
it is. There's like code A, I think, is where they do not resuscitate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bring you back if you are failing.
But they need permission for that, though, no?
Yes. If the patient decides, no, I'm not, I don't want to be resuscitated anymore, because most of the time, let's say if they're an elder and they do decide to resuscitate, what a lot of people don't know about resuscitation is that when they decide to compress these elders' like chest, you break ribs and stuff like that. And like that can puncture lungs, and
it can make their condition way worse than it
exactly
already was.
They're old, and now they gotta heal from a broken rib after you resuscitated them. So now they're in pain after they were about to already pass, and you're only keeping them alive for what? You're forcing them to stay alive painfully at that, because you just broke like 3 of their ribs to resuscitate them.
Mm-hmm.
That causes them more pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like assisted suicide or assisted killing or mercy killing is beneficial in situations?
I wouldn't say assisted suicide. That's a very iffy word to say, because it's not like they're sitting there like the elderly patients anyways. The elderly patients aren't sitting there like, yeah, I just want to go out.
Well, in some situations that I'm sure that could be the case.
So. Oh yeah, no, I'm sure.
It's like different word, like same word, like
yeah. But like for the younger people, I don't think it's okay for them to be like, oh yeah, just let me go.
It's just interesting how like for me, like how we grant the right to ourselves to do whatever we please, whether it's at the expense of others, whether we're talking about these capitalist corporations or whether we're talking about doctors who have the power to kill you or end your life or influence your death in some way, with permission or without permission. You know, like as humans, we're finding more ways to give ourselves privileges that we never had before. Yeah. And we're projecting a lot of our feelings, beliefs, and I guess like lives onto others, and we're really like killing each other in different ways that were like unimaginable. Like with all these modifications and with all this access that we have and people being influencers, like
it's just like I learned in a class today that like the fact that people are giving birth way more than people are dying, because our lifespan average is so high now. We got people living up to 100 and stuff like that.
I mean, it's not like 1920 anyway, so it's like that's kind of expected. I mean, if people are living past 100, like there's a few cases obviously, but if people are living past 100, then that's kind of like what's going on. Like, what are we eating? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Is that good or is that bad?
But like that is the longer life expectancy is like quite. It's causing like a lot of other problems, like popular overpopulation. And like I don't know, it's causing a lot of problems and inequality and poverty, and it's letting a lot of companies like be hungry, is what I call it.
To extend people's lives.
Yeah.
And just
it's like
reap more and more from them.
It's like Big Pharma. Big Pharma, everybody says that they have a cure to cancer, but they're just expending.
They've been saying that for years and years. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, but like there's been articles on like somebody who found like how to stop a tumor from continuing to grow, and like he just dropped off the face of the earth. Like literally.
Oh my god, conspiracies. Let's not go into this. Let's not. Oh my god.
No, like, but like he didn't drop off the face of the earth. Like he passed away.
Interesting.
So
you're like, coincidence.
No, like it was like he found this and he died.
That was years ago, right? And like, then he died.
And everybody's like,
okay.
All right. So then anybody do further research or anything like that. And like there's just weird coincidence like that has happened within like big pharma and stuff like that. That is like people have lost faith in humanity.
We have, because there's so much BS going on. What do you think about like pro-life versus, I forgot the
pro-choice?
Pro-choice, yeah.
Pro-choice, all the way.
Pro-choice. Isn't it interesting how like that's another thing about like people thinking that they could tell other people what to do like with their babies? Like I had multiple conversations about this with people, and my friend was like, if you're 9 months pregnant, do not kill your child. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But it's like creating that like boundary or creating that like
no, but the thing
that
is,
cutoff point where it's like, okay, you cannot kill a child at this point. But then it's
what
like
it is though. You cannot have an abortion after a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what people think. Like, oh, I'm 9 months pregnant. Like I'm about to give birth the next day.
Yeah.
But pro-choice, I'm finna kill this child.
I know, right?
No,
like, I'll be over there killing my child.
That is not what's happening. That is not what's happening. No, and then like it's just dumb how like Florida is about to pass a bill saying that like you have to have like you have to pass a maturity test in order to have an abortion. Test. A maturity test.
How are you gonna tell someone what to do? So if you're
immature, if Florida's saying is, oh, if you're immature, we're gonna give you a child. I'm sorry, you can't get this abortion. We're gonna let you get pregnant. And we're gonna let you.
So you have to be a mature. You have to be a mature person to decide what to do with your life and with your child.
And as a female, like having somebody tell me what to do with my body. Excuse you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you ever like in my life? Like I would never. Like,
but how are you
gonna tell me that I can't abort my child if I'm not ready?
I don't understand what point was it ever okay to tell anybody what to do with their bodies, like, and that just expands into a whole bunch of conversations, like whether it's prostitution or whether it's like.
But like this whole thing against women,
mm-hmm.
against this, because that's what it's about. You're telling me what to do with my uterus.
It's a female right.
Yeah, because females have already like gone through so much to get their vote and equality,
to be able to work and get money
and
equal standing of men.
And now we're going through the fact that you're not gonna let me get an abortion because you want babies all over the place.
First of all, I'll rip this thing out right
now. I'm just saying.
No.
Like, what are we back in like the 1920s where I'm stuck? I'm a housewife. Yeah.
But what have we become? What this is what it comes down to for me. What have we become, and who are we becoming, and what will we be like? Because why are we? I mean, we've been fighting for basic rights for years, but why are we fighting so hard for basic or personal rights when they should be already granted to us? Why do we feel like we should be influencing someone's life, whether it's our neighbor, whether it's a different country? Like, why do we feel like we have so much power and privilege?
I don't know.
And we're ignoring issues that are more prevalent than what we consume ourselves with.
Some people, conspiracy, some people would say that it's all a distraction.
Get off Twitter, please. Get off Twitter. Aliens aren't real. Shut up.
No, but everybody would say that it's a distraction from the bigger things in life. If you focus on the fact that like we're not getting pro-choice or pro-life, whatever side you're on, and you're on that fight, you're not going to pay attention to the fact that like human trafficking of children is happening in Africa right now, or that like Atlanta during football season is one of the biggest areas of human trafficking and people just go missing. Oh, why wasn't that on the news?
Why? Because you guys are all freaking watching the game and not focusing on what's going on. And I feel like it's become such a like personal thing for people where like I have this one friend and he always like passes information like there was this one situation where this animal shelter was gonna get closed down because of a bigger company or whatever, and like I guess they like bought them out or like they forced them into shutting down. So it was like, oh, like this amount of dogs and this amount of cats like are up for adoption, so like please find somebody to give them a home or they're gonna be killed or like just like set free or like taken somewhere or whatever the case is. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. And I was like, damn, like that's really wild. Like, and my friend always like posts stuff like that on social media. So for issues like that where we're passing informations and trying to, you know, help and benefit other people or solve situations, I think that's great. But when we're like using social media to focus on BS or just stare at and drool at people who are like exposing themselves or giving unrealistic expectations, that's just not benefiting us in any way. Like, so it's a real interesting fight, like between us and solving issues at hand, or whether they're across the world or whatever the case is, and fighting these huge companies and these huge influencers and people who are controlling all these medias and all these platforms and other companies that are really becoming detrimental to our existence.
I feel like a lot of people would argue it's actually humanity against some of these bigger companies, because these bigger companies will what are they called? Like they would put humanity at risk for like bigger, better things down the line for their own benefit and gain at the moment. Like oil companies that drill holes in like the earth, right? And they're like taking from the earth and like killing the earth, and oil is going down rivers and killing fish and like polluting water and like all this stuff, and that's going to become a problem down the line.
It's already a problem, but it's going to become even worse.
Yeah, and then like it's going to, what happens when the oil
skies are becoming cloudy, air is becoming unbreathable. Like,
it's just think about like Flint, Michigan. They still have dirty water.
They have no water. That's like unimaginable to me. Like that's just so crazy, and that's somebody's reality. Like I think I was reading that like Jaden Smith was doing something, like he started up something to help them out. Box water.
Yeah, you can buy the water, or they send the water to Flint, Michigan, and it's like biodegradable box water. So like once you throw it out, like it like
decomposes
itself. And like if you actually buy box water from like the supermarket, part of the money goes to Flint, Michigan, and filtering water and stuff like that.
And see, that's humanity that right there. Like that's
using your privilege in a good way to help humanity. Like what we were saying earlier. Yeah, that's like, there's only a couple of people that are doing like some really good stuff out there with their privilege.
I mean, you don't have to broadcast what you're doing in order for you to do it, and obviously, I mean, nobody really knew until it like came out. I think Jada, his mother, was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of him for like creating this and blah blah, blah and helping out."
Well, if you follow him, he's been talking about it for a minute. Same thing with Will, his dad.
I didn't even know.
Yeah. Oh, Jaden, because he's very aesthetically pleasing. A lot of people think he's a weirdo, but I like him.
He's a little weird, but he has his own vibe, so I dig. And his music be good.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Humanity.
What are we becoming?
Humanity is a mess. Nobody knows what they want. Nobody knows like what is right and what is wrong anymore. Because a lot of people would say like, oh, these choices that people make with their body, like getting these surgeries or lip injections, well, that's on them.
I feel like if you absolutely need it and like you can't live without it, and you feel like you would have an increase in like your happiness in life, then by all means like do it. But like pay attention to your health, pay attention to what you're doing in these companies, and make sure that you're okay in what you're doing.
It's not even that.
I mean, it is that too.
You're getting your body fixed. Why? Because you mentally are brainwashed by social media.
I feel like there could be people that are, and there could be people that aren't. There could be people that simply just hate themselves or hate their bodies.
Oh yeah, no. If it gets to the fact that you're looking in the mirror every day and you're like, if I had bigger lips, I would be so much prettier. Like, I just need bigger lips.
Mhm.
Like, that literally will fix my whole entire face. Like, I just need bigger lips.
Mhm.
Like, I need bigger lips. Then do that. If you're looking, but like, if you go on Instagram and see all these girls with luscious
And
lips,
that thought leads to
and then,
you
like,
wanting to
you're
change
like,
yourself, then that's
and then you
not
look in the
okay.
mirror and you're like, I look good, but like, I would look better. I'll look like her, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'll look like that girl.
hmm
And like, oh, like, that's when it's a problem.
That's like the LGBT community, like specifically with like gay men and wanting somebody that's slim but like fit and like brolic and like it's like
Put things
which
together
one? Because
that are
I'm slim, I
all-
don't have the rest. Like, I'm sorry.
You're slim, but like, you need to also have abs, but like not too much because we don't want like a muscular body.
Like, I don't want you to beat me up. Like, maybe smack me around a little bit, but not like beat me up. Like, not
No,
kill me.
beat me up.
Nah.
But
But
just like,
that's an interesting thing. I feel that sometimes like I need to be like really fit, or like I need to be brolic, or like one, to not be killed or like pressed, but like two, like because that's like a societal
one, to not be killed or oppressed.
But like it's really a societal expectation,
Actually, it's societal expectations of what humanity should look like.
But it's all conflicting and all makes no sense.
Everything is conflicting and nothing makes sense.
It's funny, not for the first time probably, but as of recently, somebody was like, oh, like, y'all could keep your abs, like, I like my man with like a little tummy on him, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, like, that's cool, like, even though this person is like has a huge social media following, so you never know, they can be saying it
for clout, right? But
clout.
Clout.
We're talking about that next time.
Clout.
Nah, it's interesting. Some people are changing, and some people are trying to revert back to naturalism, being natural.
Yeah, because being natural is the best you could be.
It's so funny because a lot of times when I meet people from like the internet in person, like, we always end up mentioning social media, and they'll like compliment me. They're like, oh, like, it's funny, like, I was looking at your Instagram, like, it was interesting. I'm like, what's interesting? I was like, I hope I don't look like a catfish. And like, no, you look exactly how you look on Instagram in person, which is good because you don't always get that. And I'm like, that's freaking scary, and you need to be careful. I was told this like just the other day, but I was like, that's good. Like, I'm like keeping up appearances and keeping myself how I look, and I'm not working to change myself. Like, I'm slim, and I'm fine with it. Like, I wish I was a little more brolic. I wish I ate a little healthier, but that will come in time, and I know that my body is my body. It's genetics. Yeah, I mean, I go to yoga and like Pilates sometimes, and I work on myself a little bit. I went Sunday, but yeah, I do little things here and there. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I need to look brolic. No, like, just because you feel I need to, like, forget what you think.
Yeah.
How about what I think, and how about what I feel? And right now, I feel fine with it myself.
Yeah. I mean, for my Instagram, like, I only post like when I'm like look good, or like I did a makeup look.
If you feel yourself, you feel yourself.
And then like I also post like, I make sure not to post too many selfies, even though like I do like selfie and then like scenery pic, or selfie and then like what I've been doing.
Looking at a painting in the MoMA.
Like, exactly.
That corny.
I just try to show that like, oh, this page isn't only just about like give me likes for my face. Like, I have a personality. I like certain things.
You have an aesthetic going on.
Yeah, like it's not even about the aesthetic. It's more just like, oh, if you're looking at my page and this is the only person that you know, you don't know me person. Like,
people take social media too seriously. Way too seriously.
Oh, way too seriously. But like, I feel like I don't want to put a fake person out there,
You gotta be real.
I want to be
real. Recognize real.
100%.
Real.
100%. Keep it 100.
Man.
The
problem.
The problem.
I'm joking. No, we love men. Sometimes. Y'all good when y'all good. When y'all bad, y'all bad.
When y'all face straight.
I'm dead. Well, we will conclude the show, and next week we'll come up with something hot. Something interesting as usual.
Yep.
Alright, well, take it easy, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Look at us go.